Her phone buzzed while we were walking into the restaurant. She looked down, smiled at the screen, and said, "He's already here." I didn't ask who. Something in my gut already knew I wouldn't like the answer. The hostess led us to a table in the corner. White tablecloth, candle flickering between two wine glasses. It was the kind of setup meant for couples. Just couples. But there he was, already seated, grinning like this was his celebration too. Marlene walked ahead of me, didn't even wait. She leaned down, kissed him on the cheek, and whispered something that made him laugh. Like I wasn't 5 feet behind them. Like I hadn't spent 13 years of my life building a home with this woman. No hello. No warning. Just, "Carl, this is Jaden. My boss." He stood up, extended his hand. Soft grip, flashy watch, $1,000 smile. I shook it, because I didn't know what else to do. I sat down across from them, trying to keep my face from doing what my body wanted. Get up and leave. Jaden didn't belong there. And he knew it. From the way he ordered the wine without asking, to how his hand kept resting on the back of her chair, too close, too familiar. Marlene didn't flinch. She let it happen. Worse, she leaned into it. The waiter came, took our orders. Jaden made jokes about the menu being too old school. Marlene laughed like she was on a date. I just stared at my water, counting backwards in my head to stop my jaw from clenching. Then, halfway through the meal, she did it. She picked up her glass, tapped it lightly with her fork, looked straight at him, not me, and said, "To new beginnings." They toasted. He smiled. She smiled. I didn't move. And that's when I knew. This wasn't our anniversary dinner. It was a soft launch. A handoff. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was the formality she hadn't gotten around to removing yet. She finally looked at me, like I was an afterthought. "You're quiet." I said nothing. Just sat there while the waiter refilled their wine, like I wasn't watching my entire life cave in under candlelight. Because how do you respond to that? How do you sit there, across from your wife, on the night that's supposed to be about the life you built together, and realize she brought another man to celebrate the end of it? I didn't sleep that night. She crawled into bed like nothing had happened, like she hadn't toasted to new beginnings, right in front of me with a man who looked like he already had her. She was out cold in 5 minutes, breathing steady, back turned to me. I stared at the ceiling for hours, jaw locked, eyes burning. The next morning, she was humming while making coffee. Humming. I watched her from the hallway. Same pajama pants, same messy bun, same house we'd lived in for over a decade, but everything felt fake. Her voice, her body language, her damn toast, it all played on repeat in my head like a bad movie I couldn't shut off. I said, "So, about last night." She turned, mug in hand, playing dumb. "What about it?" "You know exactly what. You brought another man to our anniversary dinner. You toasted to a new beginning, while looking him in the eye. Not me." She didn't even blink, just leaned against the counter and said, "You're overthinking it. It was a team thing. Jaden helped me through a rough quarter. I was celebrating that." That smirk on her face, that subtle little tilt at the corner of her mouth, that's when I knew she was lying. It was the same smirk she used when she told half-truths to the kids. The one I used to think was charming. Now it made my skin crawl. I pressed again, and kissing him on the cheek, whispering in his ear. She laughed. Laughed. "It's just how people in my office are, Carl. You wouldn't get it." That was her new favorite phrase. You wouldn't get it. Like she'd evolved into some higher species, and I was the old dog who didn't understand new tricks. But I wasn't dumb. I may work on busted dryers for a living, but I know what a woman pulling away looks like. So that day, while she was in the shower, I did what I swore I'd never do. I went through her purse. Found her work phone. No passcode. Like she didn't even care if I saw. She deleted almost every message thread. But she forgot one. A screenshot in her photo gallery. It was a selfie. Her in his office. Sitting on his lap. Her blouse half open, hand behind his neck. Both of them smiling. Time-stamped 3 weeks ago. Middle of the day. Middle of a Tuesday. Right then, I realized this wasn't new. It wasn't fresh. It wasn't a fling she was trying to resist. It had already begun. And I was 3 weeks late to my own funeral. I stared at that photo, so long my hands started shaking. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. It was worse than that. I felt numb, like my brain couldn't catch up to what my eyes were seeing. Marlene, my wife, in his lap, in his office, half her blouse unbuttoned, and smiling like she just won the damn lottery. She came downstairs while I was still holding her phone. My heart was pounding, but my face must have looked dead because she stopped on the last step, staring at me. I didn't say anything. I just tilted the screen toward her. She blinked, then exhaled slowly. No panic. No apology. Just a flat, bored. So you went through my stuff. That was it. No excuse. No fake tears. Not even a flinch. Like I just caught her jaywalking, not sitting in some guy's lap with her chest hanging out. I said, how long? She crossed her arms. Does it matter? That answer, it hit me harder than the photo. I stood up, still holding the phone, my voice cracking as I said, you don't even feel bad, do you? Marlene rolled her eyes. Carl, I've been trying to talk to you for months. You don't listen. You don't notice anything. You think working hard and paying bills means you're being a husband, but you haven't really seen me in years. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So this is my fault now? No, she said. It's not about fault. It's just, we're not working anymore. And I didn't want to blow everything up without being sure. Jaden and I cut her off. Don't say his name. She paused, then nodded like I'd just proven her point. I walked out. No shoes, no wallet, just grabbed my keys and left. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew if I stayed in that house a second longer, I'd lose whatever piece of me was still holding it together. I drove for hours. No music, no phone, just silence and my thoughts tearing into each other. Every memory felt poison now. Family trips, birthdays, even dumb little Target runs. All of it, tainted by the image of her in that office, sitting in his lap like she'd been his all along. When I finally pulled back into our driveway, the lights were off. Her car was gone. And that's when I saw it, her wedding ring, left on the kitchen counter, next to an empty wine glass and a folded note with my name on it. I didn't open it. Not yet. I stood there in the dark kitchen, staring at the ring and the folded piece of paper like they were loaded weapons. The house felt hollow without her in it. No footsteps upstairs, no dishes clinking in the sink, no half-loud voice on a phone call pretending to sound professional. Just me and that note, sitting in silence. It took me 15 minutes to pick it up. I already knew it wouldn't say what I wanted it to. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I made a mistake. Nothing close to that. Still, I opened it. Carl, this isn't how I wanted to do this, but maybe it's how it was always going to end. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of waiting for you to wake up and realize we're not in love anymore. Jaden sees me. He listens. He gives a damn about what I want out of life. I didn't plan for this to happen, but it did. I need a new beginning. You'll be okay. Marlene, you'll be okay. Like she was breaking up with a guy she met at the gym, not the father of her children. Like she didn't just detonate our entire marriage over some midlife infatuation with a guy who probably uses the word synergy without irony. That was the moment the sadness stopped. That note burned through whatever was left of my confusion, and what replaced it wasn't rage exactly. It was cold. Like a switch flipped. Like I just walked out of the fog and finally saw the road. The next morning, she came back. I was already up. Didn't sleep again. I was sitting at the dining table with her ring still in the exact spot she left it. She froze when she saw me. Said, "You read it?" I nodded. "Yeah, I read your little speech." She looked uncomfortable for the first time. "Good. I just came back to get a few things. I'm staying at Jaden's place until I figure out what's next." I said, "So that's it? 13 years, and you figure it out after moving in with him?" She didn't answer, just turned and walked toward the stairs. I followed. Not to yell, not to beg, just to watch her take pieces of our life and shove them into a weekender bag like they were leftovers. She grabbed some clothes, some makeup, the small photo frame off her nightstand, one of her and the kids, not even one of us. And as she zipped the bag and turned toward the door, she said something I'll never forget. "You didn't lose me, Carl. You just stopped noticing I was already gone." Then she left. 3 days after she left, I found myself standing in the grocery store staring at the cereal aisle like it was written in a foreign language. I couldn't remember what kind the kids liked. Marlene always handled that. She handled everything. If I'm being honest, school emails, dentist appointments, lunches. I just kept the lights on and assumed that counted for something. But now it was just me, with a shopping cart half filled with random crap and no idea what I was doing. That's when my daughter called me. She was supposed to be at Marlene's that night. I picked up fast, thinking something was wrong. But her voice was flat. Cold. "Dad, is it true?" I didn't say anything at first. My stomach dropped. She continued, "Is Mom really with her boss?" I couldn't lie. I told her the truth, or at least the version I could get out without falling apart. Yeah, she left, said she needed a new beginning. There was a long pause on the other end. Then she said, she didn't even tell us. We had to find out from Ryan's friend's mom. Someone saw her at that sushi place with him, holding hands. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to fix it, wanted to protect them from it. But it was already out, already real. I said the only thing I could. I'm sorry. None of this is your fault. After we hung up, I didn't finish shopping. I just left the cart and walked straight out. Sat in my truck for a while, gripping the steering wheel until my hands hurt. Then I did something I swore I never would. I called Jaden. He answered like he'd been expecting it. Carl. I didn't say hi. Didn't ask how he was. I said, you blew up my family. I hope she's worth it. There was a silence on the other end, and for a second, I thought maybe he'd apologize. But then he said, she made her own choices. Don't call me again. He hung up. That was it. That was the man my wife burned down our marriage for. No shame, no ownership, just smug confidence that she'd come to him willingly, and that gave him the right to act like I was the crazy one. Later that night, I cooked dinner for the kids. Burned the pasta. Forgot to salt the sauce. They didn't say anything. We just sat there in silence, chewing through overcooked noodles and pretending this was normal. But it wasn't normal. It was a war zone with no explosions. Just smoke. It started out as something petty. I wasn't proud of it, but after 2 weeks of sleeping on one side of a half-empty bed, waking up every morning to silence and dirty coffee mugs, I stopped caring about what was mature or emotionally healthy. I wanted answers, not the polite ones Marlene scribbled in her note. Real ones. So when she texted asking to come over and grab a few more of her things, I said sure. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I just went into my garage, grabbed the little voice recorder I used for work estimates, and slipped it under the couch cushion. I didn't plan to record it. It just happened. Like everything else. When she walked in, she looked different. Not like a new person, not transformed, but more like she didn't belong here anymore. She didn't look at the family photos on the wall. Didn't ask about the kids. Just went straight upstairs and came down with a bag. Then she sat down. On the couch. Right above the recorder. I sat across from her. Arms crossed. Eyes on hers. She didn't flinch. I asked her, how long were you planning this? She gave a tired sigh. I didn't plan anything, Carl. It just happened. I was drowning, and he threw me a rope. No, I said. You weren't drowning. You were bored. You didn't ask for help. You just jumped ships. She looked down at her hands. You always do this. You make everything so black and white. You cheated. You lied. What color do you want me to paint that? She didn't answer. Just sat there like she was the one who had been wronged. That's what got me. The calm in her face, like I had failed a test, and she was just moving on from it. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. Jaden's not the only reason I left. He's just the one who made me realize I was allowed to. Allowed to? Like loyalty was a prison sentence she finally got parole from? She stood up and adjusted her bag. I'll be filing soon. I want it to be clean, Carl. Civil. I nodded. Sure. Civil. She walked out without looking back. The second the door shut, I reached under the couch, grabbed the recorder, and replayed every word. Not because I wanted to relive it, but because I knew, in that moment, I might need proof. She thought this was going to be easy. She had no idea what I was planning next. I didn't sleep much that night. Again, I just laid there staring at the ceiling, listening to the refrigerator hum and the clock tick like they were mocking me. But at least this time, I had something. That recording. Her words. No denials, no twisting it later. Just cold, calm betrayal, on tape. I wasn't planning to use it yet, but I knew it mattered that I had it. For once, I wasn't the one caught off guard. A couple days later, I met with a lawyer. Nothing fancy, just a small firm downtown. She was sharp, straight to the point, and didn't waste time stroking my ego. When I told her everything, including the affair, the new beginnings, toast, even the recorder, she just nodded and said, "You're not going to win every point, but you've got leverage." That's when it clicked. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was a strategy game. And I'd been sitting on the bench, watching her play both sides. Not anymore. I filed first. She didn't like that. Marlene called me 2 hours after she was served. No hello. No how are the kids, just straight to it. You're being dramatic, Carl. Am I? I said. Because it's looking pretty rational from my side. You think this makes you the bigger person? Filing first doesn't change the fact that our marriage was dead. Maybe not, but I'm not letting you rewrite the story like you're the victim. She was quiet for a beat, then added, so that's what this is? Payback. No, I said. This is me not letting you walk all over me while holding someone else's hand. She hung up, but I knew her. That silence wasn't surrender. It was regrouping. 2 days later, she texted me. I think we should tell the kids together. I ignored it. Then she emailed me a list of what she wanted from the house. TV, dining set, half the bedroom furniture, a couple paintings that were technically hers, and Jaden's wine fridge. That one made me laugh. I almost wanted to reply just to ask if she realized how ridiculous that sounded. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer. The more she tried to control the split, the calmer I got. Every time she pushed, I pushed back without yelling, without emotion. And that scared her more than anything I could have screamed in her face. She didn't expect me to have a backbone. She thought I'd fold, like I always did. But I wasn't that version of Carl anymore. That guy died at the dinner table. 6 months later, I didn't recognize my own life, in a good way. The house was quieter, yeah, but it didn't feel heavy anymore. The air didn't feel like it was pressing down on me every time I walked in. I'd repainted the living room, got new furniture, even got rid of that god-awful rug she always insisted tied the room together. It didn't. It tied me to her, and I was done with that. The kids were doing better too. At first, they were angry, confused, quiet. But they started seeing things clearly on their own. You can't fake being a present parent. Marlene tried for a while. Took them on shopping trips, acted extra chipper, posted selfies with them like she was auditioning for Mother of the Year. But kids aren't dumb. They started asking her real questions. Questions she didn't want to answer. That's when her shine started to wear off. Jaden dumped her. Yeah, that happened about 2 months after the divorce was finalized. Apparently, he wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. Translation, he got what he wanted, got bored, and moved on. She didn't see it coming. I found out from our son, who overheard her crying on the phone in her car when she thought no one was listening. I won't lie, that felt good. Not because I wanted her to suffer. I don't need that. But because for the first time, she had to sit in the mess she made, without me there to mop it up. Meanwhile, I started seeing someone. Nothing serious at first. Just coffee dates, walks, laughter. It felt clean. No games, no guilt trips, no second-guessing myself every time I spoke. She asked about my kids before she ever asked about my job. That told me everything. And as for the recording, I never had to use it in court. But knowing I had it gave me the strength to stand my ground when Marlene tried to pull her usual tricks. She backed off fast once she realized I wasn't bluffing. There's nothing more satisfying than watching someone who always thought they were 10 steps ahead suddenly realize you're already at the finish line. A few weeks ago, I ran into her at the grocery store. No makeup, hair tied back, pushing a cart with maybe 5 things in it. She looked tired. Not physically, just empty. She forced a smile. Said, "You look good, Carl." I said, "I feel good." Then I walked away. Because that was the real win. Not revenge, not the divorce terms, not the silence that followed. The real win was becoming a man who didn't need her approval anymore. She toasted to new beginnings. She just didn't realize I'd get the better one. Would you have used the recording against her, or played it cool like Carl? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.